everyone, I'm Abby Maxwell,
And I'm Mike Green.
and we're going to give you a climate and energy update from Washington, D.C.
And from Vermont.
The first thing we want to talk about today is the House. They passed their so-called One Big Beautiful Bill budget in line with the administration's agenda, and it is deeply concerning on many fronts. For clean energy specifically, it would make the clean energy production and investment credits largely unworkable through ending transferability of the credits, stricter and convoluted foreign entity of concern requirements, and a faster phase out of those. We're seeing a lot of estimates about the impact financially of these moves, and one initial estimate from SEIA, the Solar Energy Industry Association, projects these changes will eliminate nearly 300,000 American jobs and erase $220 billion in local investment. The next step is for this bill to go to the Senate, so it's really important. We're calling on the Senate to reject these cuts and a lot of the other troubling changes in this budget bill. Over to you, Mike.
Yeah, and we also saw another announcement from the administration this week that continues to impact the bottom line of our business community. It's not just things in the budget bill, but also their call to repeal the Energy Star. They're not only trying to repeal it, but they're trying to move it over to the private sector, as we saw in several announcements coming out of the EPA. I think that program is something that we all recognize. Matter of fact, 90% of America knows what Energy Star is, understands the labeling, and understands that it's there in order to create a baseline for saving us money, having more energy efficient products, as well as making sure that we're out there kind of rowing in the same direction across all appliances and all home consumer products. The program's going to be really important to support. As we're well aware, it's created lots of opportunity to have energy efficiency practices within many of our small businesses, and makes decisions really easy when you're picking what appliance or what product you're going to be using within your house or within your business. So we're really going to be pushing for the continued support of that program and continuation of it, maybe living within a different agency like Department of Energy or somewhere else within the administration. We actually have an article going out this week on the Hill, so keep an eye peeled for that. And that takes us right over into our call for action this week. We've got a letter that's going to be circulating throughout our membership. You can also find it on our website. But Abby, why don't you tell us a little bit more about how we can sign on and make sure that our business community's voice is heard in support of the Energy Star systems?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. We have our sign-on up, as Mike said, on the website, and we'll be sending a few more emails, and you can find it on social media as well. It's our sign-on campaign to protect Energy Star, and we really encourage you to sign on so that your voice is put in front of Administrator Zeldin and the EPA. Thank you.
Takuni, my name is Terrius Harris, and I'm the Director of Indigenous Partnerships and Inclusive Economy at the American Sustainable Business Network. What a year it has been, and as we look towards the future, we see nothing but opportunity. One of those opportunities that I'm excited to share is based in our partnership with Silver Lining and Wells Fargo, which has led us to securing 147 dedicated spots for Indigenous-led small businesses and enterprises, exclusively in the acclaimed SLAP program, the Silver Lining Action Plan. This is a year-long tech-enabled business behavior change-based system built to help Indigenous small business owners become more profitable, sustainable, and impactful. For more information about this program and to learn more about our initiatives that are happening in our Indigenous and inclusive economy work, please feel free to email me at tharris@asbnetwork.org. Thanks. I look forward to meeting with you all soon.
Hi, my name is Liza Lamana, and I am here today to give you the updates on the Clean Water is Good for Business and Regenerative Agriculture and Justice initiatives. Starting with agriculture, and as I'm sure you've heard from some of my colleagues, the House passed their so-called One Big Beautiful budget. It proposed the largest cuts to food assistance, otherwise known as SNAP, in history, as well as reconfigured climate-smart conservation funding, moving it from its dedicated scope in conservation to the farm baseline. Notably, it also leaves out many equity and debt relief provisions for socially disadvantaged farmers. Overall, this budget prioritizes traditional farming income support systems, such as commodity programs and crop insurance, over broader social welfare and targeted equity measures. This could reinforce existing agricultural structures and will benefit established producers while increasing food insecurity and exacerbating economic challenges for vulnerable populations and smaller non-traditional farm operations. In terms of clean water, it also proposed direct cuts to the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, which is a main priority of our Clean Water is Good for Business campaign. We are going to be calling on the Senate to reject these cuts and propose a bill that prioritizes provisions that are actually good for all businesses, not just the largest polluters. Unfortunately, Congress isn't the only place that we're defending clean water right now. The EPA and Army Corps of Engineers have been taking feedback on what is considered a water of the United States. If you want to learn more about waters of the U.S. and how it impacts what the Clean Water Act protects, check out the recording of our most recent policy forum, where I was joined by experts from NRDC and Clean Water for All. Unfortunately, during this time, ASBN was one of the only pro-clean water voices to be heard at the recent small business stakeholder listening session. But they've asked for feedback. They've asked to hear from our members about how clean water protections impact your businesses. Our call to action for this month is to go to the Tell Your Story campaign and tell us why it's important to your business for the EPA to protect all of our waters, and also share how agriculture programs impact your business.
Here's the latest on our work on safer chemicals and circular economy. So we continue to build our campaign to protect safer choice. The good news, amongst all the other cuts, is that the program has not been discontinued, but its future is still unclear given the reorganization of the EPA Office of Chemical Safety and Pollution Prevention and the near future departure of 2 key staff in the program. We do believe that the letter that we sent to Administrator Zeldin to Congress, that many of our members and allies signed on to, which was close to 300 business and business organizations and investors, sent a clear message to the administrator and others that the program is broadly supported and has business benefits. So the next opportunity is we're co-hosting a webinar providing an update on Safer Choice, June 10th. And you can check that out on our website. There are many states moving safer chemicals bills, and we are actively working on bills in New York, Massachusetts, and California. A lot of these are about reducing exposure to PFAS and other toxic substances such as phthalates, bisphenols, and parabens. Here's what we're tracking. The EPA continues to reduce fundings for chemicals management and enforcement programs, and although its staff has been reduced, we continue to look for openings. The EPA faces additional cuts under the House budget bill, including a 20% cut to the EPA budget, which would impact environmental regulations and enforcement, elimination of funding for state environmental programs, and significant reductions for funding in environmental research and elimination of environmental justice grants. Congress recently reintroduced the Wastewater Infrastructure Pollution Prevention and Environmental Safety Act, which would require the statement "do not flush" on non-flushable wipes packaging. And similar legislation has already passed in multiple states. Washington State passed a Recycling Reform Act, making it the 7th U.S. state with a packaging extender producer responsibility law. So EPR laws shift recycling costs from consumers and local governments to producers, making waste management more sustainable. The next meeting of our Circular Economy and Safer Chemicals Work Group is scheduled for Wednesday, June 18th at 3 p.m.